So we ended last time talking about how Adam had just seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And you know what? Today, well, back a couple weeks ago, I saw it too. And you know what? I think that that movie might even be at the end of the year my favorite movie of 2023 because that movie is the best. And this is the Adam and Steve show, and I'm Steve.
And I'm so sorry. Someone called me and now I cannot see my thing at the moment.
And that's Adam. And this is the Adam and Steve show.
I'm so sorry. All right. Oh, I'm
That's
so
great. No,
sorry.
it's all good.
um I fucked it. I fucked it. All
No,
right.
I'm actually gonna leave this in if we just want to keep rolling because I think it's funny.
Okay, go for it. Let's go. Yeah, we saw the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. And I know I'm the hater of the show, especially hating on Disney and hating on Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is definitively my favorite movie of the year. How'd you feel?
Oh yeah, same here. It's like I said, it's probably gonna be my favorite at the end of the year just because
Hmm.
it literally took you through every emotion you could possibly think of, honestly. It makes you laugh a bunch. It made me cry more than once. A perfect soundtrack, like all three movies, I would love to collect all of them just because they're so fantastic. All of the music makes you feel different emotions too. It's just kind of a perfect movie.
Yeah, I don't understand much of the dislike for this movie, especially. Well, I also didn't understand the dislike for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is currently my favorite of the franchise. But I think this was a very fitting ending, and Rocket being one of my favorite characters, I thought that they did him justice.
Absolutely. Like sometimes I forget that Bradley Cooper is voicing Rocket.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is the perfect ending for not only his character, but a few of the other ones too. James Gunn definitely went full circle and kind of felt like he got to do like what a lot of Marvel people might not get to do all the time and can tell a complete story on his own. And I thought it was perfect ending for a lot of those characters. And honestly, if they continue with the new Guardians, the way they set things up, I think that's going to be really fun too. And I can't wait. And if James Gunn's not really at the helm of that, because he is at Warner Brothers now, I feel like he set up a lot of good things that someone could literally just pick up and run with the right person, in my opinion.
I'm happy with how they left things off. I like a lot of the endings for specific characters that we know just because of outside like actors talking and saying things that like we know that they are done and we know that what's done with them here is final. But yes, we are leaving ourselves open to do other things with the Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of the CGI characters at the end of the movie, notice that. But I think that if James Gunn approves, I don't think he would like give them the thumbs up unless they hired someone that he trusted and they did something that he believed in. But I'm open to it because Rocket's my favorite character, and I'm very interested in the future. But I'm very happy with what I have.
Yeah, I can't be more happy with it because, like we were saying in past episodes too, Marvel's not been off to a great start this year. So it's really good to see them hit this one, and especially with James Gunn leaving, for him to have this beautiful send off with this movie, and the box office is showing it as well. People are
Mm-hmm.
loving this movie. People are going back to see it. I've seen it twice in theaters and would love to see it a third time, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those movies that honestly even got better on repeat viewing. So if you haven't gone to see it yet, do yourself a favor because it's definitely still playing and probably is going to be out soon, especially with Little Mermaid coming out and taking over at a lot of different theaters too. Like I think my theater is showing it like 15 times tomorrow.
Yep.
So if you can still see it, definitely see it on the biggest screen possible because Guardians versus Mermaid, Guardians is the better visual movie too. Let's just say that now, but
Mm-hmm. No,
it's
I'm
just
all
so
in on
amazing.
Guardians. I think everyone should see it. I I was also going to see it a second time, but I was unable to because I thought I was alone in a theater, and then I went in, and there was just a big group of like college kids behind me, and they were like out loud talking, and I was like, "Nope, I'm done," and I left. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think, is my second favorite of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because it made me go back and rewatch those first two. I'm still going Volume 2, then Volume 3, and then Volume 1. How about you?
I think at this moment, because I just love that movie so much, I think I'm going 3, 2, 1 because 2 was my favorite going into this. But the more I think about it, and honestly, I might jump back because 2 is like my favorite. It might be my second favorite Marvel movie just because I love Ragnarok a lot. But yeah, the first one is good for what it is. It sets up a lot of stuff, but Guardians 2 is just so perfect in my opinion too, with all the different story and Kurt Russell being in there. Just so much great stuff. And yeah, the ending with this one, these two are definitely my favorite.
Well, because I think this is my third favorite soundtrack of the three movies. Well, how do you feel about that?
Um, I'd have to go back and listen to the first one because it's been a while and I haven't listened to it in quite some time. But the second one is still my favorite out of the three.
I agree, and I love. What are some of your standout songs here? Because for me, I personally have the acoustic version of "Creep" and "The Dog Days Are Over."
Yeah, those are pretty much the two. The acoustic version of Creep, I didn't really know existed until this movie came out, and now I've listened to it probably at least 10 times.
hmm
And it's just so emotional too, especially in the context with Rocket and everything. Just
hmm
so great.
It kind of reminded me of Deadpool 2 in a lot of ways, which Deadpool 2 is also a movie that I really enjoyed because you took a song that I love and kind of changed the context of it. Because they did in Deadpool 2 when his wife is on the other side, which, by the way, there's a scene like that here in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and they do the MTV Unplugged version of Take on Me. But that was taking like a fun poppy song and making it like sad and sentimental. And this is taking like an angry, sad like song to just a like soft, sad song, like a broken, like a hardened. Like this was Logan, but for Rocket Raccoon. You know.
Yeah, very much so. Like I've heard this song one other time on like one of those singing shows when someone made it really dramatic and like just solo singing with like a little bit of music behind them.
Mm.
But the version by Radiohead, I thought was just really, really good. And yeah, with the context with Rocket, it just makes it that much more sad.
The No Sleep Till Brooklyn is a great one as well.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that that song is in both this movie and the Mario movie with Chris Pratt. You just think that they would have like picked a different song, like one of the two of them, you know?
Yeah, and it's definitely should have been Universal to pick the different song because their song choice for Mario is one of my biggest gripes with it. Just terrible soundtrack.
Well, I slight detour. I rewatched the Mario movie. I kind of wanted to go down, but there was multiple moments where I like laughed out loud. And that movie is a nice little breeze thrown on in the background. It's a fun, cute little movie, but nowhere near as good as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Actually, here's something I want to get your take on. So some people are upset with how the Russo brothers treated the Guardians of the Galaxy characters in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, specifically with Gamora killing her off and Peter Quill doing some stupid things here and there. How do you feel? Do you feel like that stuff like really holds down the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, like the story?
No, and actually, like, as much as people want to blame the Russos for some of that stuff, I can confirm that James Gunn has said himself he had a lot to do with the stuff in Infinity War with those characters specifically. Like,
Yeah.
he had to give the approval before anything was said with them. Like, that was one thing that he did with Kevin Feige, I guess, that he made sure with those characters that he got the ultimate okay since he was the one basically babying them and kind of brought them out of obscurity. So
Mhm.
in my opinion, no. I thought a lot of that stuff in Infinity War kind of even brought stuff to the story of the Guardians movies in a way and brought a lot more emotion to it. So,
Mhm.
no, I do not blame them whatsoever. Do I love the Russos and all of their choices all the time? No. But these
Mhm.
ones, no, it did not ruin the characters for me whatsoever.
Well, I would say that I am anti Russo brothers, but like just outside of Marvel, everything that they've done with Marvel, I've loved. I love Winter Soldier, 5 out of 5. I love Civil War, 5 out of 5. I love Infinity War, 5 out of 5, and I love Endgame, 5 out of 5. So they're batting 1,000 for me in the MCU. But I think what they did was great. It feels like right from the beginning that we were setting up Gamora and her father Thanos and that whole relationship. And I feel like it kind of like her story climaxed in another movie. So that's why, like, I guess people are saying, oh, in the regular Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like Gamora is such a background character and she doesn't really get much time to shine. Well, if you go on Disney Plus and you look at the poster for Avengers Infinity War, it's Thanos in the middle, Iron Man on the side, and the other side's Gamora. She's like a main player in that movie, you know?
Well, yeah, and like a lot of the first Guardians movies specifically, with all these different characters, it's a lot of talking about her relationship with Thanos and everything and all of that. So it's basically starting from there where we built to in those movies. So I mean, I don't really get the whole gripe with it, but it's beyond me at this point. I like the Russo brothers in a couple other things. Like I think they did the Extraction movie with Chris Hemsworth on Netflix. The action in those movies, for the story is not great, but the action stuff in those I really enjoy. And I'm kind of excited
Mm-hmm.
for that second one, but the other stuff they've done I haven't really paid attention to as much. So they're very hit and miss for me, but I don't dislike them. And they did make Winter Soldier, which is like one of the best action movies, period.
Mm-hmm. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you mentioned, was your favorite of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Where does it lie in your overall MCU rankings? Is this at the top, like top three, top five?
You know, it might break into top five. It's definitely top 10, no doubt about that.
Oh, you
I'd
had the
have to,
Guardians movies far down because I even had like Guardians 2 at like my three spot.
oh yeah, Guardians 2 is like my number two right now. But I don't think, yeah, the more I keep thinking about it, Guardians 2 might be there, and then like Guardians 3 might be like three or four. Because the more I keep thinking about it, the more I just love Guardians 2 that much more.
Mm-hmm.
I have to
No,
rewatch them all
I'm
again.
still going Guardians 2, then 3, then 1. I just think that the villain in this one is a little bit more fun than the one in the first Guardians movie. Because that's my big gripe, is that
Oh yeah.
Ronan the Accuser is such a like do you remember the name of the villain from Thor the Dark World?
Yeah, Malekith.
Yeah, Malekith the Dark Elf.
Yeah.
Dude, I am such a popular man today. Jeez Louise. But no, I put this in my top five MCU movies. Like, I'm sorry, if I want to go venture into the MCU, I would rather hang out in space with the Guardians. And their ride, by the way, in Epcot is fantastic. What perfect timing there. So I'm totally Guardians of the Galaxy pilled. Go see Disney Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in theaters, 5 out of 5, and visit the ride in Disney World.
Yes, I'm also 5 out of 5. This movie's great. And speaking of big superhero movies that sometimes go to space, these boys behind you, they've like one of them's also been to space. And that is there's a
Mhm.
new Fast and Furious movie all about family that's in theaters right now, and it is Fast X with our
Mhm.
boy Jason Momoa. Now, what did you think of this movie, Adam?
So you can't see it behind me, but I have the Fast X poster right around where Paul Walker's head is. I am in love with this movie. It is so ridiculous. Like I think the moment that like this movie like kind of encapsulates like how you feel about this movie. Like I recently rewatched Birds of Prey, and I'm like, how you feel about this movie is kind of going to be dictated on how you feel about the egg sandwich scene. Like if you think that that's fun, then you're probably going to like this. But if you think that that's so stupid, and you're like, why is it even here? Then you're not going to like Birds of Prey. I feel that way about the bomb on fire rolling through what is it, Venice and Rome, and it's going to hit
Yeah,
the Vatican.
yeah.
And Dom uses his car like a pinball, and like it like swings
Oh yeah.
around and hits the bomb away into the water. Like that was the goofiest shit in the world, and I loved every moment of it. How'd you feel?
Yeah, if you're a man of science and physics, you're gonna fucking hate these movies, but it is so much fun to watch. I had so much fun with this, but more than anything, I didn't know that there could be a more compelling villain in any Fast and Furious movie now than Jason Momoa. Because holy shit, this man's always a hero in like almost everything, but Jason Momoa as this goofy ass villain is like my favorite role that he's ever done. He's just seriously like looks like he's laughing the whole time, being the most ridiculous character in the whole world. That's just like a rich kid who just
Mm-hmm.
wants to get revenge for his dad. That's really all of his motivation, but it's actually really good motivation at the same time. It just shows just the crazy antics that he puts this team through is just amazing.
I'm not crazy about his Aquaman. I've never seen Game of Thrones or Conan, and I can't really think of anything else that he's in at the moment. But I think that Momoa should be nominated. Like that was I'm kidding, but like no, he was so
No,
much fun. Like every Fast and Furious villain is just the same like I'm this tough, evil, rich, bad guy, and I'm tough, and I'm gonna beat you up, and fuck you. And this one's
No,
like,
yeah.
he's one of the girls. Like he's invited out for girls' night. He's got his hair up, he's painting nails, he's giggling, and he's having a great time. He's the Joker.
And like in a way, he almost kind of reminded me of Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman. Like he's
Hmm.
just basically laughing. He knows exactly what he's in, and he's also laughing along with us. He's doing the
Hmm.
most ridiculous stuff, and but he's having the most fun doing it. And it just felt like he was just a cartoon character in a way, like an evil genius cartoon character that's like pulling the levers on the train tracks. This is trying to throw this team out of nowhere. And honestly, one of the more successful villains in the Fast and Furious franchise too. Like he
Hmm.
legitimately is taking names.
Hmm.
He takes out one of my favorite people in the entire world. No spoilers here, but there's one scene that almost made me cry.
Hmm. I'll say this without spoiling anything. I think everyone's gonna be okay. I feel like there's that no one is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, like I knew when the ending was coming, but at the same time, when it happened, I was like
Hmm.
almost applauding. Because the way
Oh,
this
I was
movie
so
ended, I was
happy.
just like, yes. I was like, perfect. I was like, I'm sold. I'll be here.
Mhm. My
I did not
buddy leaned over to me after the movie and was like, "Infinity War," and I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what that was right
there should
there."
have been a card that's been like, Dom will return, and I would have fucking died.
Like, because they don't own a trademark on that, just poke at him a little bit, because Vin Diesel, I'm obsessed with his devotion to this franchise and how much he believes. Like, he compared it to Lord of the Rings. He thinks he deserves an Oscar. Like,
Have
I'm all for that manifest destiny that he's
have you ever
got.
seen Drew Gooden's video on Vin Diesel?
Yes,
It
yes,
is
I need to rewatch that.
it is so funny. I showed it to my brother the other day, but I was like, it just shows that this man just loves what he does so much in himself more than anything in this entire world. He thinks that he's like a god among men, and it's the
And he
funniest thing.
is.
I mean,
He's great. I mean, he looks old in this. You can see in his eyes. They're like black eyes. He's old.
well, and it's funny because I could have used that transition too, because I always forget this man is in like two of the biggest movies right now. He is Groot and he's also Dom. And it's just insane to me that he is literally like the top man at the box office, but everyone forgets about it sometimes.
Mhm. Well, I think that they're slight. I mean, they're kind of the same demographics that they're looking for. You'd hope that they would move it around, but Marvel always does the first weekend in May, and then the Fast and Furious always does the weekend before Memorial Day weekend. Like they gave 2 weeks of like, all right, here you go. I mean, even Chris Pratt was in Mario, and then a month later he's in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, I think all these studios are definitely just trying to piggyback off of these names, and they're like, all right, if they release this movie, then we can release our movie right here, and then we can still build off the star power there maybe and get a little bit of those fans. That's probably what a lot of these studios are thinking because they're not. It's only like four different studios at this point, so they know when each other's going to release shit.
And I just think that the common factor in both of these equations is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because people see how great Guardians of the Galaxy is, and they're like, hey, we want to replicate that here. Let's take this person from this and this person from this, and let's try to. Well, I mean, obviously, Fast and Furious didn't go, you know what? Vin Diesel's pretty cool as Groot. We should get him for the family. But yeah, no, all speaking of the
But I
family,
mean,
all the teases and fun things that we saw in this were fantastic. I thought they were goofy as all hell. And like I said, I'm not taking this story seriously at all. Okay.
no,
Han came back. Everyone's going to come back. You know what I mean?
no one is fully dead other than Paul Walker.
Which, by the way,
But his character's not
bless up.
dead. But his
But
character's
it's
not dead. It's so fucking weird.
every movie just has a scene where they just go in Vin Diesel's in the garage and he's just like, it's been a long day.
Well, and they're always just like Brian's taking care of the kids, and it's like, yeah, but that's not really a great excuse. The man was an FBI agent and shit. Like, he should be here
Mhm.
helping people if he's still alive.
Well, if you watch that out of context, then I understand why you
Yeah.
would be like bothered by that. But in context, knowing
Oh yeah.
Paul Walker passed away in the way that he did when he did, and so I'm like, cool, peace,
It's
like
just funny to me because they also like
respect.
name the kid Brian and everything, and it's like this is so strange that they're just
Hmm.
Like, but whatever. It's such a goofy series, and yeah, like you were saying, there's no character that's ever gone. There's no like ending to any real story here. Like they can also just go back and just get footage from an old movie and revamp it into a new movie. And I kind of like that they do that because it just means that they can just go back and keep rewriting things and just being as goofy as they want to be. And with this series, it's okay because if you're really going into this, tracking down the lore and being like, this needs to make sense here and blah blah blah, and making little yarn shit. Like if
Mhm.
you're really taking it that seriously, then you're in the wrong franchise.
Well, this movie kind of confirms that the best and most iconic Fast and Furious movie is Fast Five. You know what I mean? We
Without a
didn't
doubt.
go back to the DVD players in the first movie. We didn't go back to in the seventh movie when they're all together as well. Like we're going back to the movie that reinvigorated the franchise. And I rewatched Fast Five recently this week. I was sick. I watched a million movies, and Fast Five is just like such comfort food for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is this your favorite Fast and Furious movie, Fast X, or is it Fast Five or something else?
Right now, actually, in my rankings that I just did, it was Furious 7, but it's more because of the emotional aspect of that, and James Wan is my man. But
Hmm.
Furious 5 or Fast and Furious 5, whatever it's called, Fast 5, that is by far the best movie in the franchise, in my opinion, when it comes to the
Hmm.
overall action and just the overall like encompassing of Fast and Furious. Like there's the goofy stuff, there's the really cool action stuff, and there's like practical racing and everything and like explosions, and it looks incredible.
Hmm. No, my favorite movie is still the first one. I just think it's real cute how they're stealing DVD players and stuff. But also, that's the one where the performances are the best. And I feel like they were actually like trying to make like a real movie because
Yeah,
they stopped trying to make real movies at like the second one.
I
And
honestly think in my ranking, I put that at like 4 or 5, honestly.
the first
Just
movie,
yeah. I know it's
wow.
shocking to a lot of people, but I saw it way later than a lot of the earlier ones. Like I think I saw at least Too Fast and Tokyo Drift before ever seeing that one. And I
Yeah, those were two of
honestly
the last ones I saw.
I have more fun watching those ones, I think, just because there's such emotional attachments to them. Same with 7,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I like 5. I like the first one for what it is, but a lot of it is extremely dated, especially
Two
with
and
some
three are
of their
probably my least favorite
That's funny to me. But
because
I know I'm a little bit older too, so that's probably a little bit why
mhm.
too. And I grew up with older brothers who made me watch all that stuff at a very young age on repeat.
Well, I started with Fast Five. Like that was the first one that I remember
Oh,
seeing. And then
yeah.
Fast and Furious 6 was the first one I did in theaters. And then from then on, I was dedicated, you know.
Oh yeah, I grew up with Fast and Furious always in my life practically.
Mhm. No, they're fantastic. I love this franchise so much. I think because I give this Fast X 5 out of 5, because 5 out of 5, 5 plus 5 is 10. Fast X, baby, we did it.
Oh
I
yeah.
love this movie so much. It's not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and it's definitely not as emotional, but like this movie has the most self-awareness of all of the Fast and Furious movies. And for that, I think it succeeds immensely because I'm just there enjoying the ride. It really is a theme park ride. Like watch this in 4DX. It's the goofiest, silliest shit. And it's about faith. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, yeah, they say it so many fucking times. It is a fun movie though. Like if you just want to go to a movie and just literally just not have to think and just watch crazy stuff happen that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but everyone's laughing, everyone's making jokes and just
Mm-hmm.
having a silly old time, go see this movie, especially in like IMAX and stuff where you can see all the big explosions. You're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
have tons of fun. Like for Furious 7, I kind of wish I would have done it for Fast X, and I still might. Have you ever been in one of those like D box seats is what they're called?
Yep.
And they literally like shake you around and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that for Furious 7, and we had my mom there with us too. We turned her intensity all the way up. And like after the movie, she's like, "Why was that so crazy?" And we're like, "Look it down."
Dude, even when he's drinking a Corona in the garage, it's like
Oh yeah, it's like it like rumbles. Like whenever they're like idling the car, it's like and it's like bouncing you. I saw it for Batman too with Robert Pattinson, and although it is fun, sitting in those seats for 3 hours, not as fun.
I will say the Batman is better than all the Fast and Furious movies. That's fair.
True.
But no, Fast X is probably my second favorite right now. I really think that it's just like a total symphony of ridiculousness. Like you know what you're getting yourself into at this point. Like it's just a big dumb action bonanza. If you're gonna sit there and complain about like oh wouldn't the Nas like explode in the fire? Like
They
shut up, you know?
they sent a DeLorean to space in Fast 9. If you are
Mm-hmm.
still trying to make sense out of these movies, please just see yourself out. These are for
Mm-hmm.
people that just want to laugh and have fun and enjoy fast cars doing dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally like a superhero movie, but the superheroes are cars. And Vin Diesel like literally
Exactly.
like having like magnetized gloves and like throwing other cars. Did he do that in like 8 or 9?
Yeah, he didn't want, and then this his forearm. Remember when he like picked up the car?
Oh yeah, and in Hobbs and Shaw, like the Rock like grabbed the chain up with the helicopter and like pulled the helicopter down.
Dude,
Yeah,
I was like deep diving into Hobbs and Shaw last night. I think that's just like the most brilliant like formula action movie
I need to
of the
rewatch
like
it.
last 5 years. Like it's so funny how like calculated that movie is, and the trailer gives away literally everything. I do like Hobbs and Shaw though. I'm a big fan,
Big fan
but
too.
yeah, no, I'm just a crazy fan about these movies. I can't wait for the next two installments to come out because this story I was totally writing this movie off because I was like, oh, I side with the director and the director left because of creative differences. And Justin Lin, he's a very good director, and Luis Leterrier, he did the fucking Now You See Me, Incredible Hulk. Like that's not as good as the other Fast and Furious movies. So I was very skeptical and it blew me away. This franchise is director proof.
Yeah, for real. Like I was surprised at how much fun this was, just like you were saying. Especially when Vin Diesel like said that this was going to be the beginning of a trilogy. I was like, there's no fucking way he's trolling. But then once I saw it, I was like, you know what, Vin? I'm down. I was not sold before this movie, but I will watch more of these, and I am so in.
This is currently, I think it's my second favorite movie of the year, behind Guardians and just ahead of Blackberry and Cocaine Bear.
I haven't seen Blackberry yet, but it's definitely this one's probably in my top 5 right now. I think I like Megan a little bit more still, and Beau is
Mhm.
Afraid, but this one's definitely up there.
Small detour, but Blackberry. Do you know what it's about?
Isn't like the creation of like the company of BlackBerry and stuff? Because I know Glenn Howerton's in it
Yeah. Do you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia? I
from the
mean,
beginning. Yeah,
he's kind of just playing like an asexual, unhinged Dennis Reynolds. The whole time he's just screaming, and he's fantastic. And Jay Baruchel's also great in it. It is a Matt Johnson movie. I'm not crazy about his other work, but here working with like real actors and putting on some of my favorite performances of the year. It's a must see. It's probably not out in theaters for much longer, but like when it goes to streaming or anything like that, I would seek it out
yeah.
right away. You know.
I think it might still be playing in my theater, but probably not much longer. Especially with Little Mermaid coming out, it's gonna push everything.
Mhm. Well, I'm a big Sunny fan, and it's just very interesting to see Blackberry soar to such heights in my head. And for the Charlie Day movie, Fool's Paradise, that I watched this morning, to just complete like that's one of my least favorite movies of the year. It's better than Peter Pan. You know what I mean?
Better than Wendy and Peter or whatever.
Yeah, Wendy and Peter Pan, and then the Fear movie, that one, the COVID horror movie, that was
I
really awful.
I hated that movie.
That was terrible.
I
I'm
was
actually surprised you saw it. I didn't think anyone else saw that
Yeah.
movie.
Well, it was on Hulu and it was fucking written by Kevin Williamson, wasn't it?
Oh, the guy from Scream.
Yeah, he wrote it and I was like, Kevin Williamson's writing a horror movie? I'm down. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck is this? This is so
Mm-hmm.
it was not only boring, but it was just overly preachy and just it just got old very quick. The whole gimmick of it. Like, yeah, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna watch this again, especially when the pandemic's over. Like I don't want to go back and watch stuff about this time because I fucking hated it.
Mm-hmm. Before I forget, did you give your rating for Fast X yet?
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. I'm a 5 out of 5. I am the biggest fast head in the world. Um, family, Corona, Mi Familia, the barbecue.
So we're back and we're under the sea because we're talking about the Little Mermaid. And you know what? It's fine in my opinion. It's nothing all that special. And From what I can remember, we'll start off by saying this. I haven't seen the original movie in probably 20 plus years. Don't really remember a whole lot about it other than the iconic songs, but this felt practically the exact same.
I think that we feel exactly the same about it, but I'm much more negative about it. I think it's also fine, but I hate it. And I'm just mad at it that it didn't have the decency to be like total garbage. Like it had to be like Beauty and the Beast bad, where it's like, yeah, it's just bad. But like at least it's a movie about humans. You know what I mean? Like it has the animal problem that Lion King has, but it's not like as focused on them. It's much more about like this mermaid girl. And Halle Bailey does a fantastic job. I don't know. How'd you feel about it?
For one thing I can say, I loved the music. I thought it was all really good. I thought everyone was singing very well. I liked Lin-Manuel Miranda's little revamping of certain songs, and David Diggs I thought was fun as Sebastian for the most part.
Mhm.
Aquafina as was it Scuttle as the bird?
Yeah, she sings the Scuttlebutt song.
Yeah, I enjoyed her for the most part, I guess, but nothing all that special there either. Like the movie's just fine in my opinion. There's nothing great, and it's just I don't know.
My theater was cracking up at all the little Diggs jokes as Sebastian the crab. I didn't think anything was funny in the movie whatsoever. I think Aquafina is terrible. That Scuttlebutt song is my favorite song because it's like terrible and it like makes me feel things. Like I do like in Under the Sea how she sings a little like harmony. I don't know anything about music, but she goes under the sea. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's like that's not in the animated original one. It's funny that you brought up the animated original one because I was able actually to see this movie in theaters back in like 2019. They re-released it for a spell, and I adore this movie. You know, if I was a girl, I was going to be named Ariel.
Because the A's.
Yeah, we're the A's, and my sister really loved The Little Mermaid. Like this is a huge movie to our family, and I'm just like such a sucker for Part of Your World. Like I think it's the best Disney I Want song. Clearly, I think it might be my favorite Disney song in general. So this one was really close to home, kind of the same way The Lion King was. But I think this succeeds in a lot of ways. I think there's too much excess. Like, why is this 45 minutes longer than the animated one? Like, I don't feel like where that time go? You know.
Yeah, that is the major thing with this one is that it does not need to be 2 hours over 2 hours long. At the beginning, especially, like I woke up, I saw this afternoon, so it's very fresh on the brain. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning, and by 4 p.m., like an hour into this movie, because I saw it at 3, I was like falling asleep almost. And I blame a bit on the movie being a bit boring. Because when the music isn't going, especially at the beginning when they're setting up like Prince Eric and stuff, I don't think that a lot of younger kids are gonna love this movie,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because there are parts that are just straight up not that entertaining and kind of if you're not like there's not a bunch of flashy shit going on. There's not the kind of animated characters talking. It's just people walking around, just kind of falling in love. It's like a love story, but little kids, I don't think, especially with it not being animated, there were children, there weren't a whole bunch because it was 3 o'clock on a Thursday, but there were some kids in my theater, and by that 2 hour mark, especially, they were up and yelling at each other and stuff like they were just over it. And I could understand because it was a bit much.
Yeah, it's kind of dark and weird, and like I don't know. Obviously, we've established how like the creatures look terrible, but like I don't know. It's just one of those things where I actually went to the bathroom during the movie. I never go to the bathroom during movies, but it was right around after she sings the song in her head about being in the main real world, and like that was super confusing because she can't talk, but they were trying to add another song in there, and I just felt like it was kind of awkward, so I wasn't crazy about that. But I do like Lin Manuel Miranda, and I don't know. And this movie wasn't offensive. How about that?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was talking about in my review too. Like, it's not bad, but I wouldn't recommend people go see it in theaters really because it's not, there's a lot of other cool shit out there that's worth your dollar. Like, there's nothing really impressive visually there to go see in IMAX, which I did. I feel like that was kind of a waste, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I don't know, they're like Javier Bardem kind of felt like a wasted casting in there because he didn't really feel like he was adding that much to it. He kind of felt like Javier Bardem putting on a little costume for a couple days. I don't know. I just nothing really jumps out to me as like this movie needed to be a thing. Although it's not bad, it's just not it doesn't feel the specialness that any of these remakes really get to.
Did you see Lyle Lyle Crocodile?
Not yet, no.
I recommend it, and I don't really think it's that good. I was actually like the most negative person walking out of it, but
Oh
there's
yeah.
one song that I'm really
Forgot.
like, what?
Javier Bardem's in that. That's why I just remembered. I was like, I forgot he's in another kids movie.
Oh, and he tries so hard. Like here, he's just like doing the typical thing. Like I think he fit. He's not my dream cast, but like he was a very safe, easy choice, and he did a serviceable job. Which I will also say about Melissa McCarthy, which is, by the way, the nicest thing I've ever said about her in my life. But like, also, that's such a low bar, you know?
You know, I'm a big fan of Melissa McCarthy, and she made me laugh a lot in this
Mm.
movie. Is she like perfect? No, but I thought she was by far the only, like one of the only characters really making me laugh throughout this. And it felt like she, by far more than anyone, was just like kind of in the same vein as Jason Momoa, just having fun and just leaning into the goofiness. And while it felt like everyone else was trying to take everything much more serious and trying to make like a love story, she was just like, I'm here to cause havoc and just be silly.
Oh yeah, like Halle Bailey was taking this really seriously. So was Prince Eric too,
Yeah.
which, by the way, don't need Prince Eric to have a song. You can go ahead and cut that right out.
Yeah, that was definitely the worst song throughout the whole movie by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy, like, for what it's worth, he tried to do things, but I don't see him as a leading man at all. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the first thing I've ever seen him in. And yeah, I don't see him really being in anything else anytime soon.
Yeah, he was nothing to me. Kind of a lot like the guy who played Aladdin in 2019's Aladdin movie. But I will acknowledge something about this movie. I know I'm talking a lot of smack about the Little Mermaid, but I acknowledge that I am not the target demographic. You know what I mean? Like my mom is gonna eat this movie up. She's going to adore it and have a great time. She might cry, dude. My sister will love this movie if she ever happens to happen upon it. You know,
Yeah.
like little girls will love this movie. You know what I mean? And that's great. I don't want to take that away from anybody. I do think this is a 3 out of 5 because I think it's serviceable. It really does not succeed or achieve anything artistically for me at all whatsoever. Like I hate it from an artistic level. I hate this movie so much, but like it's serviceable. It's fine. It's inoffensive. It does the job. It's going to make $1 billion, and it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Whatever, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for that audience, they're gonna eat it up and they're gonna like it, but I feel like just that runtime, I feel like might be a downfall for some kids. Like there are gonna be parents that are like, I'm either not gonna take my kid to go see a movie that's 138 minutes long or whatever, or I'm gonna take my kid to go see this, and about 120 minutes in, we're gonna have to leave the theater because my kid's being a
Mm-hmm.
demon because he's been sitting in a theater for 2 hours already. Like if they would have
Mm-hmm.
made this 90 minutes and kind of just cut out some of the more boring parts of it, and Prince Eric's song, definitely, this
Mm-hmm.
would be probably even bigger than it's going to be, but it's going to be interesting to see. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
also going to play a big factor too, is that some theaters aren't going to be able to run it as many times because it's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. No, no, yeah, I completely agree. If they cut out the extra 45 minutes, cut out the extra songs, cut out the new special effects, just have everything like 2D hand drawn. And actually, let's just re-release the original movie again. Like that movie is fine. It's perfect the way that it is. It's a 5 out of 5. One of the greatest animated movies of all time. One of my favorite
Mulan.
musicals of all time. Well, yes, that too. But The Little Mermaid is perfect the way that it is and doesn't need to be touched, and I just really don't like this movie existing, but that's fine.
Yeah, I never grew up with this one because like my mom actually told me that I guess one of my friends like took our VHS tape because he loved the movie so much, and my brothers and I just didn't really care about it that much. So that's why I only saw it like twice in my whole life.
Yeah, it's at least it's over. Like the big four horsemen the Mount Rushmore of the Disney Renaissance is done. I know they're going to make a prequel to The Lion King, but like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, those are my personal four favorite Disney movies of all time. So knowing that those are over and done with,
Well,
I mean,
I wish this movie would have done something more, kind of like how Cruella did for the 101 Dalmatians stuff. Like they tried something new while still playing into that story and still kind of being in the same realm as a remake type thing. Like I wish Disney would try to go more that route rather than just literally regurgitating the same movie over again, but worse.
mhm. Yeah, it's upsetting for them to just shot for shot uh remake these movies, and they're just destined to be looked upon negatively. But Disney's brilliant. This is a brilliant plan, because you know what, if you hate this movie, like who agrees with you, if you hate
Yeah.
this movie, there's people who hate this movie for really dumb and hateful reasons.
Ben
So it's
Shapiro. You
like,
want to be on Ben Shapiro's side? You want to be on Matt Walsh's side?
yeah,
No.
I'm not really interested in that. Which, like, good for Halle Bailey. She was great. I mean, I don't want to say great. She was really good in it, which is like such
No, and
a
like
shining compliment compared to everything else in this movie.
yeah, I will the wholehearted music. Like Lin-Manuel, he did some cool stuff by redoing some of the music, and I don't love all of it, but he's the one that really actually tried to do something new in my opinion.
Hmm. So the Rotten Tomato score is subject to change. Maybe right now we are recording this on Thursday evening. I think it's probably pretty set where it is.
How many reviews
Um,
are there so far
let's see.
for the
Let's
critics?
see. So there are about 186
I
reviews
don't think it'll change much from there then.
for 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 94 from audiences, but
Those
it's
are
it's
those are both very high in my opinion.
well, I mean, it makes me feel justified because my friends make fun of me that they're like, "Oh, Adam, you say you hate the movie, but you gave it a positive score," and like, well, I'm like, because I hate it, but it's good. You know what I mean? Like people are gonna like it. People, my friends were all giggling the
Yeah,
entire little movie, all the little stupid jokes. So don't tell me, like, I'd rather you go watch Super Mario Brothers in the theater for a second time than go watch this movie.
just go spend 45 more minutes and go watch Beau is Afraid. It'll be way better.
Dude, yeah, well, that's a very different experience. Take the kids to Mario, drop them off at Mario, and then you can go watch
I mean, if you want your
watch
kid
Bo.
to really change as a person, go take him to see Beau is Afraid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it will. But 70%, I don't know what this movie's going to do at the box office this weekend, but I imagine it's going to make $100 million domestically, meaning I would have 70 points for this entry. Please do not play the trailer out loud. And then you, for the other two movies we had today, you had your number one overall pick, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, hit it with an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is so funny to me.
It's criminal too.
Yeah, I think it's so obnoxiously low. Like, you really want to tell me that Doctor Strange is a whole 10 percentage points like higher than this movie?
The original Doctor Strange?
Oh yeah, it's like a 92, 93, 94, something like that.
Yeah, I love Scott Derrickson, but no.
Exactly. So, but 82 points, pretty good. Oh yeah, how does it feel to know that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is only 12 percentage points higher than The Little Mermaid?
Yeah, it's criminal. It really is. That's so wrong.
Oh, you want to talk about criminal? Little Mermaid is a whole 15 percentage points ahead of Fast X, which is clocking in at 55 miles per hour percentage rotten at the Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm so upset about because I gave it such a high rating.
Yeah, the critics here are basing it too critically, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
You have to grade the Fast X on a fucking grade, like on a scale, on a fucking ramp, going way the
Mm-hmm.
fuck out of there.
Yeah, I just think that there's a group of people out there, a club of thought on the Fast and Furious franchise, that they've jumped the shark and they're ridiculous and that they should stop. And unfortunately, unless it's a perfect movie, even if it's a perfect movie, let's say a quarter of people in the world are done with the Fast and Furious franchise because they've jumped the shark. That means if all 75%, like all 100% of the people who like Fast and Furious liked it, still only be 75%. So for it to be up to like 55% of Rotten Tomatoes, I'll take it. I think it's more interesting when a movie is hovering around the 50, 60, 40, 40s, range,
Yeah. I
So,
like it when people have different opinions too.
no, I agree. I think it's interesting. I don't know. Like I said, people will really enjoy The Little Mermaid. People really enjoy Fast X, and people really enjoy Guardians 3. None of these are surprising anybody. If you knew you were going to like it, you're going to like it. Like, even if it's well reviewed, you're not going to like The Little Mermaid if you are against these live action remakes.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're mad that these movies keep being made and you hate it happening, don't go see it.
That's true. That's true. I have to. It's my job,
But
but
you're not supporting the box office.
I am literally doing free marketing. That's why earlier when I was talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like a commercial, like go spend your money on Disney. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I just think Guardians deserves it. Like if you make something that's emotionally resonates with me, that's creative and original and you know like resonate, like it's something I can relate to, then I'm going to champion it. But if
Oh yeah.
you just take the cheap way out and you just retread something that didn't need to be touched, like I recently went back and watched the original Tron. Speaking of new Disney rides, have you ever seen Tron from the '80s?
Nope.
It's one of the ugliest looking movies in my life. But would you believe if I told you that movie's like a lot about religion?
I honestly had no idea.
Yeah, it's not really on topic, but basically that movie looks really ugly, and the new one, directed by Top Gun Mavericks, Joseph Kosinski, is a visual feast. They based a
Is it?
whole ride off of that movie just because of the way that it looks. You don't know any character's name from the Tron movies besides Tron.
No, I haven't seen either of them. Isn't Jeff Bridges in one of them?
Yeah, he's in both of them.
Oh,
Yeah, a big problem with the second one is they do a CGI younger version of Jeff Bridges back in
oh.
2010.
Yeah, it's definitely not good CGI, but
Yeah, but the movie is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous production design. I'll say that.
that's what I've
In
heard. Is
VFX.
it like in the same kind of vein as like what am I trying to think of? Damn it, the Speed Racer.
Speed Racer doesn't look as good. I love Speed Racer. I think
I
that's a 5 out of 5
It's
great
my
movie.
favorite.
But I will say that like visually, like which one is gonna be like the background of my computer? It would be the new Tron movie. I need to rewatch that now, actually, now that I'm gassing it up.
Is it on Disney
Uh
Plus?
yes, it is.
That I'll
Subscribe to Disney Plus
that I'll be
and
watching that soon.
well, I do. Actually, I think it's really interesting part of film history, the first Tron movie. I really think a lot of the ideas that are played with are very fun. And it's way ahead of its time, too. You got to acknowledge that. And the second one, like I said, is a visual feast. And Olivia Wilde is not too shabby, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah. I haven't Yeah, I need to watch those. I've always known about them. They're always in like the pop culture zeitgeist, but I've always avoided them somehow. But I have Jeff Bridges tattooed on my damn leg, so I should probably see it.
Yeah, he's a lot more fun in the original than he is in the sequel. But he's also doing some fun things in the sequel as well. I don't know, but that's a whole sidetrack. Like that deserved to be remade, the original Tron movie, because it was way ahead of its time. They didn't have the special effects to make it look the way that it could look at peak value, and like not so few of these live action remakes are doing a better and improved version of the animated. Like yes, by making Peter Pan and Wendy, you're able to make a Peter Pan story that doesn't have offensive depictions of Native Americans. That's true. So, from a moral standpoint, there you go. Yes, they made the right decision and didn't include something that was offensive. But back then, I don't know. I just think it's very unoriginal and cheap to just rehash these old movies,
I have to agree.
Mhm. But so forget about Disney then, right?
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
even care about Disney. We want to talk about how sick I am this week. And I watched some movies thanks to the greatest and most epic collection on Vudu of all time, the Barton family of Vudu.
We did it.
It's touching 1,000, isn't it?
If it's not, it's got to be damn close. Well, especially with the different, because I have like 6 movie packages. So yeah, it's definitely cracked 1,000, I think.
So day by day, I was trying to keep you updated with what I was up to, but I did themed days. So I started with musical biopics with the word walk in it. I had Walk the Line and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Then I did later that night, I did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which doesn't really count. But which of those three movies is your favorite?
Probably Walk Hard.
Walk Hard, I adored. I thought it was hilarious. I was actually laughing out loud, and I was in a terrible mood when I watched it too, and I was still like busting a gut.
Oh, it is.
Um, I'm
It is
crazy
one
about
of
it.
the most perfect comedies. And honestly, people even say it in the musical industry. It's like one of the
Mm,
best biopics like ever. Like music biopics especially. Like even though it is
mm,
still a satire, like the way it's crafted and everything, it takes like everything from different biopics and kind of just makes the perfect one while still making fun of all of them.
mm. No, I think it's fantastic. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. Probably one of my favorite original movies that I've watched this cycle. But one movie I wanted to get your opinion on because I know we disagreed. I gave Walk the Line only 3 stars. I didn't see the hype. Can you sell me on it?
Well, I am a huge Johnny Cash fan, so that's probably a big part of it. Like I grew up listening to him all the time, and like my grandma literally has like a record that she got. I forget where she got it from, but like one of his recordings from Sam Quentin when he went to the prison and everything, like in the movie and stuff. And
Mhm.
I grew up with a lot of it, so seeing all of that stuff happen in the movie was very emotional, I guess, to me. And I literally saw it when it was brand new, and I rewatched it probably 10 times. So it's just being a huge fan, hearing Joaquin perform all of the music himself too. I thought it was all just really, really fantastic and very, very historically relevant to Johnny Cash's life for the most part too. Like some parts are fabricated, but a lot of it's fairly accurate, especially the rougher stuff with the drugs and whatnot.
All right, that explains a little bit to me because I'm not a huge fan. Like the music's good. I didn't really like
Yeah.
I've heard it in my life in popular culture, but I was never like an artist that like I knew his music. Like if you ask me right now, I watched the movie, and if you ask me right now to name a Johnny Cash song, I couldn't do it.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know a lot.
So I guess I'm just not that big of a fan. I just like wasn't like in love with this whole Walking Phoenix relationship with the girl Reese Witherspoon, which I thought
Oh
was
yeah.
brilliantly parodied in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
It was a very, very tumultuous relationship, especially in the beginning, for them both being married and whatnot. And Johnny Cash was definitely not a perfect gentleman, we'll say that.
All these movies are the same. That's what made Dewey Cox so great is how mid I thought Walk the Line was. Like I think the performances are great. I like the direction from the next Indiana Jones movie director,
Mr.
James
Mangold.
Mangold. But no, I wasn't crazy about it. Did you have any thoughts on Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
I actually just put the book away so I can actually sell it in a yard sale, but so that I actually read and saw in high school. And for a high school kid, it was right up my alley, being just like, oh, let's take this historical figure and just do the most ridiculous, goofy shit with it and pretend like the president was a fucking vampire hunter while still being the president.
Mm,
It's very hilarious to me. Like I haven't seen the movie. I don't like even though it's on my Voodoo, I don't think I've seen it since the theater back in like
mm.
2012 or
12,
20.
yeah.
Yeah, and Anthony Mackie was like his right hand man, wasn't that a thing?
Yep.
Those are the only things I remember about it. And I literally read the book twice too.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it. It sucked. And then
I
every
think it's
day
fun.
yeah, I can see how someone would find it fun, but I was just not along for the ride
Yeah.
at all. I'm sure if I saw it in theaters, it would be different, but just, being at home and able to ignore it, I was like, like I was just not into it at all. And every day I would end the day, fall asleep to a movie that I'd previously seen. So I rewatched Fast Five, which we talked about. Day two was my big dumb sci-fi day, in which I did The Fifth Element, Lucy. Actually, Fifth Element, Jupiter Ascending, Lucy, Limitless, The Meg, and then I rewatched The World's End. What's your favorite?
The World's End. I'd say out of
Yeah,
those. The World's End and then The Meg probably, just because I also saw that in theaters and just love it. I think it's the most
Mhm,
ridiculous shit. Jason Statham going after a shark and Rainn Wilson being there an asshole and
mhm,
lots of goofy shit. But the other ones, like Limitless is cool. Don't really remember it too much, but I'm a big Bradley Cooper guy.
mhm.
And then the other two are very, very, very like faint memories of them, but don't remember them being that great. Like Fifth Element, I need to rewatch because it's been too long. But I just remember Chris Rock in his goofy outfit and his weird hair, or Chris Tucker,
Mhm,
I mean.
mhm.
But yeah, and
Uh,
Lucy, I barely remember.
I'll agree. The World's End is my favorite. That's obviously the one I rewatched. It's my personal favorite of the Cornetto trilogy. But other than that, I'll go with
Mine's
the
Hot
fifth.
Fuzz.
Which one?
Hot Fuzz.
That's fair.
I
That's
love that
fair.
movie so much.
I was just telling Lauren, I was like, usually people think The World's End's the worst one, but it's my favorite. People usually think that Hot Fuzz is the best one, but the most popular one's Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, the Shaun of the Dead is the one I saw the most too. I
Hmm.
actually rented it growing up when I was like a little like that movie came out in 2004, so I would have been like 8. My parents rented it for me.
Hmm. I liked the Fifth Element a lot. The production design, the costumes, the cast. Like you said, Chris Tucker's fantastic. Luc Besson is a very solid director, and I feel like that movie had a lot of practical stuff going on that was interesting to look at.
Yeah, I love Luc Besson sets and everything, but I'm just not a Luc Besson boy, I don't think. Because even like he made a movie like back in 2018 or 2019 called Anna or Anna. One of the most boring movies I've ever seen. Like, I don't
You
know.
recently watched the Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets.
Yeah,
Why?
and again, like because it was on your video, but
Ah,
that one too, like visually, looked pretty neat. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, but Dane DeHaan basically playing Captain Kirk in Star Trek didn't work. He does not have the pizzazz and the charisma or anything, and honestly, it was quite boring other than just looking around at shit. And yeah, I'm just not a Luc Besson boy, I don't think.
yeah, Valerian sucks. Valerian sucks in the same way that like Jupiter Ascending sucks. Like, thank you for trying to make this cool, awesome sci-fi thing, but like, I'm not into this romance thing you got going on. Like, and
Yeah,
this world is too weird, and nothing's really sticking with me and grabbing me. You
for
know
us
what I
both
mean?
being Wachowski boys, it was really disappointing to see that.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. Speaking of Luc Besson in the sci-fi world, Lucy is one that I had a lot of fun with because I thought it was like the dumbest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, from what I remember, it's pretty goofy.
Yeah, like when she did the touch with the monkey towards the end, that was the funniest thing in the world. I was so happy. It's so quick and short. Scarlett Johansson's a bona fide movie star, and not to mention she's gorgeous. And so yeah, but the better version of that movie is very clearly and easily, and I think it was like 5 years prior. Yeah, 3 years prior is Limitless. I really love that movie. That's like a douchebag movie for sure, but it's like so cool. Like my buddy talked to me about it. He was like, "Yeah, I thought that movie was hilarious because what the movie's basically trying to say is that like if you become a drug addict, all your problems will be solved." And I was like watching. I was in the middle of the movie at that point. And I was like, "That's not what that. This seems terrible." And then at the
Yeah,
end of the movie, I was like, "I should get addicted to drugs."
Adderall's not that bad.
Like, like obviously I won't, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
Limitless, like made it seem so cool, and
Oh
I
yeah.
love the scenes where they would like zoom in on the streets. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
when I was in high school, I thought that movie was like the coolest shit ever. And I
Mm-hmm.
think they actually made a TV show based off of it too. And
They
I was a
did.
huge fan of that too. Like I was Limitless pilled hardcore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie's really good. I also gave it a 4, as well as Fifth Element a 4. I wanted to give that a 5, but I'm a little baby who didn't like emotionally get like super attached to it.
Yeah, I think I watched
Um,
Fifth Element for the first time on like the Sci-Fi Network, and then I got the code not that long ago for Voodoo. So now that I own it, I should probably rewatch it.
yeah, the Meg was good, I guess. Like you're kind of getting exactly what you're promised, which is a good thing.
It
But like
is
also, I think the best thing about that movie is also the worst thing about the movie is that it's like trying to be a real movie. You know what I mean?
it is, but at the same time, it's definitely still knows that it's a goofy shark movie.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm not into this whole like relationship between Jason Statham and this young woman. That Like, I'm not buying at all whatsoever. Rainn Wilson's character, what were you really trying to say with him? You know what I mean? Like,
Rich
yeah, he was
people
kind of a
suck.
jerk. Well, he was kind of a jerk, but he also had some like redeeming moments, but like some like questionable motives. But like he was like a part of the team, and like he wasn't like malicious or anything. And so for him to
Uh,
get the fate he got was like
there
a
was
little
definitely a part
weird.
where he knew that everyone was gonna die, and he was just like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out of here," and then ultimately got fucked. But
Oh yeah, like at the end, but like it like felt like they were like trying to get you on his side at points during the movie. You know what I mean?
I think it was more trying to fool you, thinking like, "Oh, you can trust him. He's not that bad." And it's like, "Oh yeah, never mind. He's
Mhm.
just a rich asshole."
I guess I mean I think Jason Statham does a great job at playing Jason Statham, and like it's cool that there's a giant shark and like the middle point when they think they get the shark and then the shark jumps up and eats the shark.
Yeah,
So
I'm
cool.
a shark movie boy. Like Sharknadoes, I still eat that shit up. Like goofy monster movies, I will be there forever. Like Meg 2 is coming out in a few months, and I will be there day one just because I love the goofy stuff.
I will as well, but I will say that because I think you curated these lists for me of like movies on your Vudu that I haven't seen,
Yeah, I tried to.
and I saw all the Sharknado movies on there, and I've seen the first two. I've reviewed them in like really old videos from like a decade ago, but I will never rewatch them, and therefore
Sharknado
I will
2, you
never
got
get to
to.
the. I've seen it.
It's Mark McGrath, man.
I love Mark McGrath. I'm not watching 3 through 5. There's
To
some
be,
stuff on there that I was just like, that's not happening, Chief.
you got to.
I
I'm
I mean,
watching.
hey, I went through so I'm like, I'm gonna count this at the end. And it's gonna be an
Hey,
insane amount.
I watched literally everything in your voodoo. I am going to watch it, no matter if it's gonna be like I watched Boss
I
Baby
have like
2 the other
200
day.
movies, like 300 movies, like
But you
a
have
significant amount less.
there's still like 30 something that I have on my list that I haven't seen yet though.
I have like 200 in those
That's
lists that I
true.
have to go through.
But I already went through like I only have in my voodoo, I still only have like maybe 20 left. That's how
Oh
many
yeah,
movies I've gone through.
in my voodoo, there's nothing like Scooby Doo meets Kiss, the band.
Hey, I didn't
That's
buy that though.
but but it's on the list. Like I have
I've
to
seen it
watch it in
though.
theory, you know. There, no, I will get through a
Kevin
lot of
Smith's in
it.
it.
And like, well, like I said, we'll count it up. My last day that I did with the list was my Scorsese epic day. It was Casino and Gangs of New York. Which one of those do you like more?
I think Casino is the better movie. I've seen Gangs of New York more because it used to be part of my like St. Patrick's Day ritual where I would watch all these different movies about like Irish people basically, like Boondock Saints and that one, and I'm trying to remember a couple of the other ones. Black Mass with like Johnny Depp being Whitey Bulger. Just a bunch of different things about like Irish mafia stuff and Irish characters.
The Departed.
The Departed too, yeah.
Yeah, I had a day like that with Tully. He made like bangers and mash, and it was like a whole thing. Sorry, I live behind a racetrack. I am definitely more of a fan of Casino. I thought that the performance from Daniel Day Lewis was great in Gangs of New York, and obviously so is Leo, and everyone else is great. And it's Scorsese. I mean, I don't think Cameron Diaz was great. I'll say that, but yeah, I think it's a good movie. But I was much more impressed with Casino, which I think is like definitely like the watered down version of something like Goodfellas or something like even Wolf of Wall Street. He kind of perfected it there, but Casino is still like Scorsese, Pesci, and De Niro. And I love Joe Pesci just screaming all the time. Obviously, Robert De Niro is great in a really held back role, which really allowed for Sharon Stone to shine because she was pissing me off in that movie because she was so insane. And then at one point, she like peak crazy womaned out, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this is a brilliant like this is
Brilliant
so fun
performance.
to watch." Like once you get past though, like it's like with The Office, like once you get past the cringiness of Michael and become to appreciate and like pity him, like that's when it really becomes beautiful.
Well, when you look through and you're like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to hate this person. You're doing such a great job at being this like just shit person.
Yeah, she's fantastic in it. I really love that. Did you have any thoughts on it?
Now, it's been a while since I've seen Casino, but yeah, it's definitely the better of the two in my opinion. And yeah, Joe Pesci, that might be one of my favorite Joe Pesci movies other than like Home Alone and stuff, just because even it feels like he just lets loose in that one, yelling, fucking just hitting people, just being the most Joe Pesci you've ever seen, practically.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I don't think it's his best role ever, but I think he's really great in it, and it's just a lot of fun. Like it's a hangout movie. Like nothing happens. We're just kind of hanging out with these characters as we go through their lives, and it's great. So that was a 5. Gangs in New York is more like a 4 for me.
Yeah, I'd have to probably say the same.
Uh, it's a slight pause on the Steve's Voodoo list. I saw Hypnotic. I don't think it's like the worst movie ever, but like also I can't really say I enjoyed it that much. I gave it a 2 out of 5. Did you see that? Are you gonna see that?
I want to really badly because I just love seeing everything Robert Rodriguez, but I have not been able to see it just yet.
I can't wait for you to give it a 3. You're going to enjoy the movie. Go watch it. Ben Affleck's a little cutie in it. But it's like it's real. Like I got to a certain point where I just didn't care about like what was real or not, and I gave up. But I watched Blood Diamond yesterday. No real thoughts. It got really interesting at the end, and then it ended. I wasn't a fan of Jennifer Connelly very much, but the other 2 leads were great.
Yeah, Daniel Njugu or whatever his name is. I can't
Jamon
remember.
Hunsu.
Jamon Hunsu. Yeah, I got his name mixed up with somebody else. Yeah,
Mhm.
Jamon Hunsu. That's probably one of his, honestly, the one role that really kind of made him who he is today, honestly, with all these different superhero roles, especially and stuff. But he
Mhm.
was fantastic in
Well,
that, kind of way better than fucking Leonardo's accent that he had in that one.
he was definitely trying. I would say Hansu, my favorite role of his is Steven Spielberg's Amistad, which I was
I
able to
haven't
watch
seen that.
earlier this year. It's from the '90s, late '90s. It's really fantastic. It's just the story of like a slave ship that came to the New World, and then I think the slavery laws changed, and they were like, "Is he a slave or not?" And it's like one of the worst Spielberg movies, but like one of the worst Spielberg movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, what a
the worst
stupid thing
Spielberg
to
movie
say,
is
you
still
know?
like one of the better movies than most people.
And I'm in the middle of the producers right now, but I'm in the middle.
With Mel Brooks.
No, the remake. I have to watch the original now as
Oh
well,
yeah, okay.
but I'm not even through this part. But yeah, so in total that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, and I did Hot Rod this week as well as Super Mario Brothers and Slither. So I did a lot.
Yeah, I started watching the show The 100 on Netflix recently. It's actually a CW show, so that's what I've been doing. And I really love it.
hmm I have no love for the CW. Well,
This
I
is by
also don't
far
have
the
love
best
for
show
T.
on there.
Yeah, I've watched one episode of Flash and I'm totally done with it. But next time that we're out here, we might be talking about Flash, we might be talking about Spider-Verse, we might be talking about a lot of things. But thank you guys so much for talking with us about movies today. Little Mermaid, Fast X, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Steve, I imagine you have reviews for all of these. Where can people find that?
All of those reviews are on the Film Fan Reviews YouTube page and on our letterbox pages. Follow us on there, fellows.
I'm Adam from Hard Reviews. I have reviews for all of those as well. Actually, my Little Mermaid one is doing better than both my Guardians and Fast X ones combined. So I'm
Very
Disney pills,
nice.
baby.
Hell yeah.
Thank you guys for experiencing ass with us today.
Hell yeah. Get some ass, fellas.